This is Corey Willis with PPEI, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
I'm Adam Blattenberg from Diesel World.
Hi, this is Dan, owner of D&J Diesel Performance.
I'm Christian Roth of DD Diesel.
I'm Braden Fleece, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
What is going on, Diesel Nation? We're excited to have you guys with us today on the Diesel Podcast. Today's episode comes from a guest that he was on last year. His name's Levi. He's the owner of Unique Performance, LLC, out of Gillette, Wyoming. And we were on Instagram and saw a video he had of a Freedom Racing engine Stage 3 Cummins. And he was talking about the engine, the fueling setup, and then a Fleece coolant bypass kit. And we wanted to ask him, what's it going into? There were a lot of engines there in their engine bay. And we know he always cranks out a ton of cool builds. So today he's going to join us on the podcast. We're going to talk to him about that truck and then also a few other ones that he has. There's a really cool build that he's working on. He started it late last year. He's going to tell us about that. And then also some other things that they've been working on for transmission coolers. And then also some of the products and upgrades that they've been doing on oil-filled trucks. So whether you have, truck use for construction, towing, oil-filled work, hotshot work, or you want a full-blown race truck, he's going to cover all that. Levi, welcome back to the Diesel Podcast. We had a great time chatting in the fall last year. We were talking about engines and race trucks and cool things you were working on there in the shop, and I wanted to catch up with you here this spring and see how you guys have been and what's been new with you.
Hey, Patrick, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Just it's nice. Everything's kind of opening back up in society, and we're all waiting to see when racetracks are going to open, and some of these go fast parts we spent 2 months putting on trucks or putting on our own trucks, we can take to the. Oh yeah, now we've got a lot of new listeners this year, and they might not have caught your first episode. I wanted to start by having you tell us and our audience where you're located, what you do, the name of your company, and things you guys have been working on and specialize in.
So we are based out of Gillette, Wyoming, northeast corner of Wyoming. We are a high-performance diesel shop, repair, maintenance, stuff like that. We do a lot of high-horsepower builds. It seems like that's been a very, very increase in our business aspect. A lot of transmission builds have been going on lately. Just about everything you can imagine. If it's a Dodge 03 to 19, actually 2020 now, we can do anything to them. So we got customers all over the nation. We just finished up a truck in New Mexico. We got one coming from Washington. We got a couple more coming in, way out of state. It's unreal. But other than that, just we're a high-performance-based shop. We started off basically on the internet, a lot of recognition on the builds that we do personally, and it's caught a lot of attention. We've gained a really good relationship with a lot of companies in the industry, and we just taken off, man, in a very humble way, and it's what we do, big man. So, yes, sir.
What's been really interesting is the last couple months I've tried to reach out to a lot of different people or companies or even former guests that we've had on and just say, hey, how's it going? What have you been up to? And a lot of them that are in the diesel, where they own shops or they have a company or they make a product, they're like, I am so incredibly busy. I haven't slowed down. I'm actually busier than I've ever been. And it's just, I think a lot of people have been focusing on, hey, well, I've got some time. I always want to do this compound kit. I want to do this engine build. And I wanted to ask you about the build part is, over the last 2 or 3 months, have the builds stayed kind of the same, or have guys been coming to you and saying, hey, I always wanted to do this with my truck. I'm going to take it. I want to drop it off with you, throw in this Freedom Racing's, Stage 3 engine with this big charger and injectors and built transmission, or, what has it been like that with the kind of builds you've been seeing this year?
Patrick, it's actually a pandemic as far as growth for our company. It's off the charts, to be honest with you. It's like we hit this sudden urge of everybody wants to build a 1,000 horsepower plus street truck, and I literally we have an engine room right now with 3 of them in there, another 2 on the way from Freedom Racing engines, which will make it 5 total. One of them will be, obviously in our shop truck, so technically 4. And a very, very interesting build that we have going on that's a lot different than most is Garrett Niss. He has a 2006 Ram 2500. And he drove the truck all the way out from Ohio for our Party 1010 48RE full manual valve body. Just he wanted to build trans. He wanted to eventually be 800 to 1,000 horsepower, 5.9 guy. We wanted to do some injectors, turbos. I mean, the whole 9 yards. He wanted to do the build in a progressive way. This month we'll do that. A couple months we'll do that. Just the very average build for us. So then it all spiraled out of control to where he wanted this, he wanted that, and literally now the truck's getting a frame off, build, truck's getting repainted, the frame's getting painted, AFCO rear suspension, king coilovers in the front, American Force wheels. I mean, it'll literally, you look at the SEMA truck side of things, Patrick, it'll literally be a street truck, reverse leveled, powder coated gold axles. Another very interesting detail is some of the powder coated items are actually 24 karat gold on the truck. And we've never had the knowledge of, telling a powder coat, hey, put gold flake in this. And there's literally, gold flake in some of the engine parts that we're applying to the truck. So this build is literally going to be one of the most probably internet-breaking builds out there. I don't really like to, brag up stuff, but this is like off the charts as far as detail in spec. And this happened, I think he brought the truck to us in December. And a couple weeks went by, he's doing this, he's doing that, and, then, hey, let's do a Freedom Racing Engines, and John and Chase and all of them are like, okay, all right, yep, this dude's not messing around. And, I mean, we were literally doing a frame-off build, brand-new engine, brand-new trans. Interior will be a bolt-in 670 index cage. That'll be done by Tim Miller. It'll be a removable cage, Sparco seats, sound system, custom center console, the whole 9 yards. It'll be absolutely insane. That's just, one of the big builds. That's the biggest build we got going on right now. And to date, he's, dumped probably well over $200,000 at this truck. It's insane. And just the parts. I mean, brand new everything. Every nut and bolt that's aftermarket, he wants it. Willwood brakes, everything. It's absolutely insane. And this is right during I think this is in December or January, right when this pandemic started. So we're like, okay, this is going to, be a pretty big one. This is obviously priority number one at the shop. And we had another guy hit us up, hey, let's do stage 2 from Freedom, which is, the average for us, 1,000 horsepower, 6.7 Cummins, 48 swapped, 200%, single 75, actually single 76 from Jose at Force Inductions. And they just kept rolling in and rolling in and rolling in. And, 2 weeks ago we just sold another one, and it's like we're not even going to have time to do our own stuff. Like, I hardly see us being able to go to any shows because of the builds that we'll be tied up in. So, there's a lot of struggling shops out there, and, I feel bad for the guys, I really do. And, the guys out there that are growing right now, during this pandemic, it's like, which street are you on, and I feel bad for those guys and, the companies out there that are doing well. It's a weird time for all of us, to be honest with you. And, we're thankful and we're very humble about what's going on, and very thankful for our customers and stuff like that to keep us busy during this hard time in the country. So
what's been really interesting is to see all the builds, especially on Instagram, that people are posting up, and it's like this time, while difficult and horrible in a lot of ways, it's given us a chance to stop and say, hey, what do I really want? We're not really so busy with our 9-to-5s or different things that we're doing, and we get to think about that truck. We always wanted to do the frame off build, or do the built transmission, or the engine, or hit that certain power level. And it's given a lot of enthusiasts that opportunity. And it's been so incredible to see the things that are out there that, that people are doing. I'm not sure if you follow a guy on Instagram. His name's, I think it's Battleship 67. It's like a gray, that build, like just watching that progress and the detail of it. And there's tons of other ones where it's just like, it allows, me and tons of us to just escape from day-to-day stuff and just like put our head back into, wow, I want to do that to my truck one day, or I wonder what kind of power that's going to make, or I wonder how that transmission feels when when it hits second gear, and all those things. It's been a nice escape.
Yes, sir. John, I think his name's John Durf, I think is his name. He's a legend, man. I've followed him for years now, and the wiring that guy can do is simply second to none. I mean, I've never seen anybody wire tuck a third gen the way that guy can. And, we look at his builds and we're like, man, if we could get that guy out here to do some wiring stuff, holy smokes. That's exactly what we're doing with Garrett's truck right now, obviously. Going through a Canva system like that, frame and the engine and schematics and stuff like that, that's some serious stuff. It takes a real bit of knowledge to do that. And like you were saying, Brian, I think it's Brian Durf. I forgot his name. Whatever his name is, Battleship67 on Instagram, man, that dude he can wire tuck and he can build a nasty looking street truck, that's for sure. Always been a fan of his work, that's for sure. So a lot of builders, it's cool.
I was having a conversation with the guys over at Fleece a few months back, and they're like, hey, you got to chat with Levi. Like, he's got a ton of cool things going on. And I think that's right when, like, the stay at home and social distance stuff hit, and it's just like everything just got blurry. But I was on Instagram and I saw you did a video, and you had, I think it was a Stage 3 Freedom Racing engine there, like in the showroom, and you were talking about what it was going in. And I wanted to go more in depth with that and have you describe, like, what is a Stage 1, 2, or 3, and then specifically with that engine, like, what did the customer want, and what are you giving them?
So, Stage 1, me and O'Day, we kind of got our own little marketing plan, our little business talk we got going on. It's always a good time when we go down there to Freedom. Great people, great company. They've always taken care of us very, very, very well. So Garrett wanted, when we do these kinds of builds, Patrick, we usually sit down with the customer. We look at their budget. We, figure out what we can squeeze in here, what they're doing with the truck, how they're going to drive the truck, what's the use for the truck, how do they drive the truck, is it a weekend wear, is it an every single day driver, stuff like that. And we really just go to the build, straight in. Okay, you need this, you need that, you need this, the whole 9 yards. And Garrett's the kind of guy, there's no budget. So we sat down with him, and obviously there was a lot of areas that, when we're doing 1,000 horsepower plus is a must to us, and then there's extras. So on Garrett's build, Freedom Racing engines, Stage 3, 14 millimeter main studs. I think I had Molly. I can't remember what bearings John put in. HD Molly bearings, I believe. Had a balanced crankshaft, Crillo HD rods, late 5.9 pistons, 14 millimeter head studs. I mean, it was every little nut and bolt on it was the best of the best that we could do. Manly intake valves. It literally has Fleeces and Freedoms competition side drafts. That big giant billet UF on a street truck. So
really cool.
The beautiful side draft that has the diverters in it, that the air that comes across the motor in equal fashion. I remember talking to Chase about this a couple of years back, and when he was testing it, it was one of the only side drafts on the planet that kept cylinder temps within 50 degrees of each other. And I recommended that to Garrett. I said, hey, if you want to go into the next little bit of detail, obviously this is a benefiting thing to the engine. Obviously airflow across the motor, port polish on the head, stuff like that. We can do it. And Garrett's a very simple person, and he's not afraid to tell you what he wants and what he doesn't want. So I sent him a picture of it, and, this is this, and, here's their side draft, and 5-axis CNC Manly intake valves, port and polish on the exhaust, port and polish on the intake side, the bottom side of the cylinder head. And he said, do it. Okay. All right. So we did it. And, then there was just idea after idea coming at us of, hey, is there anything else we can do to this thing? I was like, we're literally running out of stuff to do to this thing. Like, there is nothing aftermarket that we can do to this. And, it was just, it's literally, Patrick, I mean, if you can literally imagine doing an engine build in a street truck and having no budget, but at the end of the day being reasonable, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's literally, the market is literally on it. So we went with, obviously, a Stage 3. There's a Stage 2 and then there's a Stage 3. Like when me and LJ talked, the Stage 3 is obviously going to be one that has a aftermarket side draft on it, a non-sleeved block. It'll have a standard Cummins QSB piston, late 5.9. And, then you go to the stage 2, which is a factory intake plenum, which will require, an aftermarket pusher, a Banks, stuff like that. That'll be a stage 2 motor. So the difference between a stage 2 and a stage 3 is technically main studs, head work, and that's what kind of upped Garrett's to a stage 3 was the aftermarket side drive. And Garrett was the guy that said, hey, I need to beat a Lamborghini with this truck. And I said, okay. And I said, well, we can make that happen, no big deal. And so then we started throwing, more nuts and bolts at it. S&S Diesel Motorsports, late 5.9, 200% injectors, 2 Fleece 10 mil, Power Flow 750, CP3 pumps. Fleece is regulated return, which is probably one of my favorite pieces, like I said in the video. Makes fuel, distribution and fuel return to the pumps very easy, especially for an installer and a technical, standpoint. They're a very, very nice piece. I've always told Chase and Braden that's probably the coolest product for, the high horsepower guys. And Tim Miller, Accelerated Turbo Systems up there in Michigan, paired with force inductions from Jose Zayas. I think he's in Alabama. We did a 467, 87, 90 over a 485, 96, 132 on a speed manifold. So it'll have enough air for, to, instant light on the street. A lot of street truck guys want the power and they want it right there. And there's just something different about compound trucks versus single trucks. From a high-performance enthusiast to another high-performance enthusiast, riding in a single turbo 1,000 horsepower truck and riding in a 1,000 horsepower truck with compounds, you get the torque from compounds, and that's what, blowing tires off at 80 miles an hour is fun. And it's, it's like what Chase said, 2-stroke or 4-stroke, which one you want.
Yeah.
But anyways, down to the stage 3 basis, we have, Fleece's valve springs, 103-pound valve springs, billet retainers, push rods. Every single piece on the motor is literally Fleece. It's, it works. That's what, when we got a customer that spends this kind of money, we're not just throwing on Joe Bob stuff. They want something that works, and that's what we do. So
that's what I hear from a lot of shops. They're either mechanics that work at shops or sometimes owners, and they'll message into us and they'll say, hey, you know what, I've been having customers come to me and they want some of these higher horsepower torque builds, and the machine shop I used to use, they don't do that. They do more, kind of OEM replacement stuff. And they'll start to ask questions that are really, I love when I get asked these questions, because I can ask someone like you, is they say, okay, if I order this engine, it comes to me, what else do I need to do? Like, if I want it with a stroker CP3, will it come already on it? Or how much, from an installer perspective, when you order something, do you have to specify all that's installed, or what options do you got?
To a customer that is making a certain amount of horsepower, there are certain recommendations that are involved. So like a standard stage 1 Cummins, which we did about a couple months back, we did a OEM replacement, 6.7 Cummins from Freedom, which is stage 1, what they call it. Basically factory rebuild, 6.7, factory main studs, just a set L19 head studs, factory, Cummins OEM gasket, stuff like that. There's upgrades. We always recommend the customer, if you're going to go up to this 500-600 horsepower level, we recommend a coolant bypass for this. Okay, well, what does a coolant bypass do? So you got coolant that comes into the motor, it hits cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then by the time it hits, 4, 5, and 6, it gets hot. So, we give them the laydown on Fleece's coolant bypass. There's a lot of companies out there that make a coolant bypass, and, to be honest with you, I think Fleece is one of the first people in the game to, make a complete quality kit that was very easy to install, other than sitting on your back, with a 40-foot long pry bar and whacking out the free. So when we have a customer that does that, we usually say, if you're going to go up to 500-600 horsepower, the motor's out, we recommend doing, a coolant bypass. You're going to go to this horsepower level if you're going to be towing heavy and getting hot, pulling snowmobiles or horse trailers up the mountain, et cetera. And, that's where we make our recommendations. Now, not everybody in the world needs a coolant bypass. It's kind of user specific on what they're doing with the truck. Now, Uncle John that's down the road that's hot shotting, that he could benefit from that. Obviously, that's going to help the motor out in a significant way. Obviously, hauling heavy on the interstate, stuff like that. That's where we make the recommendations. But if it's just a guy that's driving a 6.7 Cummins, that's tuned and stuff like that to work, that guy's not going to need, this and a coolant bypass and, a fuel system or whatever we recommend. And what's crazy is, Fleece came out with the intake pump. What was it, Patrick? Probably about a year ago they came out with that.
Yeah, right around then.
For, as an installer, I can't tell you how many of those we've installed lately. And, we've told Chase and Brady, if we can make this work in, 1,000 horsepower plus trucks, with a 1/2-inch feed line, the big line kits, what they state on their website, that was the product of the year. It's just so easy. We don't have to cut the frame up, mount a bracket, this, that, and, like a stock 6.7 Cummins, fuel system, if a guy's just, pulling his trailer and stuff like that and, wants his truck to sound a little bit better or do this or do that, is he going to need that fuel system? Probably not, but that's why we, say, are you going to, add horsepower? You want to be at 500 horsepower goal, 600 horsepower goal, 700 horsepower goal. We recommend these items, in-tank pump, and then we recommend a set of head studs, and we recommend a set of Fleece exhaust manifold studs if we got a, warped manifold or, cracked exhaust manifold. And, it's just one of the other trucks we have sitting outside the shop right now is a cabin chassis, 5500, Ram 5500, and the truck came in, and it got so hot that the exhaust manifold studs literally broke off in the head.
Wow.
It got so hot, Patrick, on the intake side where the air filter is and the tube that goes down the inlet of the turbo. It got so hot, it literally melted the rubber onto the turbocharger, and it literally ate a bunch of rubber and sent a bunch of shrapnel through the intercooler. So we started digging into it, and, the build started off with, a drop-in Cheetah. Guys get a little bit of performance out of that, and, no more faulty actuator stuff, which is kind of a big seller for us, is the Fleece drop-in VGT. And called Chase, and I showed him a picture of, the intake, and he said, man, I guarantee it, that head's warped. We called the owner. His name's Trent Jones, very big-time oil field guy up here in Gillette, and we recommended to him, hey, we don't know how long, this head's going to last, considering it warped the manifold, and cracked, the manifold as well. I don't think I mentioned that, but we think the head's warped. So he said, well, whatever you got to do to make it run another 100,000 miles, just do it. So, obviously we, made an order to, LJ over there and said, hey, we need a street head. They're remanufactured street head. We got a street head coming. We got a set of L19s for it, drop-in Cheetah. And, that truck, in my opinion, doesn't need a coolant bypass or a fuel system. So we made the, the correct recommendations on what they're doing with it, how they're driving it, stuff like that. And, that's how our customers come in, is they expect us to, lay down the knowledge of what works and what doesn't work and what they need and versus what they don't need. So
it's one of the huge crossovers too with performance, like the high horsepower builds, the race trucks. That's what pulls us in, as an enthusiast. That's what we want to see. We want to see stuff go fast and dyno numbers and track times and everything. But most of us aren't driving 2,500 to 3,000 horsepower trucks. We have, something that's, 450, 500, 550, 650, something like that. But to see the products and the options that are available to us that, of course, trickle down from, some of the hard lessons and the time and the R&D that, say the guys at Fleece are learning on these, incredible builds. Well, now on that 5,500, some of that technology and the ability that they've learned, you can now apply to an oil-filled truck. And that's been one of the really cool things the last 5, 6, 7 years that has happened, is a tremendous amount of quality products you can use on a daily driver, work truck, oil-filled truck, hot shot truck.
Literally. It's crazy. And it's nice. It really is. It makes it for a business when a customer comes in and wants options for, such as a Ram 5500, we can lay out those options for them, no questions asked, because they're trusting us and they're trusting, a quality product to come out and run another 100,000 miles. And that's why we've created a good relationship, obviously, with LJ and Chase there over at Freedom. If we need something fast, they'll have it on a truck in 5 minutes or first thing the next morning, and we'll have it in 2-3 days, a max of that. And it's just one of those things where, as me, when I order something, I'm the same way as everybody else. I want it, and when I get a cool sticker in the box, that makes my day. And it's just a lot of guys out there are very strategic and very upfront with what they want. And if you don't meet the customer's, expectations, that's when you get a very upset customer, and that's what's kept us growing in a very good way. Is customers come in, customers get what they want, customers are happy. And at the end of the day, we're able to apply that to them with, products that work. One of the biggest issues that we have around here, Patrick, product that we actually just finished up, we just made a 6R140 transmission cooler. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the Fords at all. We have a transmission cooler that mounts in the front of the bumper. Now, the Ford aftermarket lines are hard lines that are pressed into the case with a 10-millimeter bolt. And no one's made anything available for those. And, I don't know if you ever rode in a Ford, but the 6R140 is a very hot running transmission. I think it averages from 195 to 220 degrees. And when we went to Fleece, pulling our, 40-foot gooseneck in the race truck, me and Ty, we documented transmission, the variance in temperatures, straight road, pulling a hill, this, that, unloaded, whatever. And our 450, which is a 2019 truck, it got stupid hot, man. I mean, it was like 210 to 230 degrees, and we were hauling about 20,000 pounds. And man, I was like, we need to make a transmission cooler. We need to make something work. And a lot of the customers that come in to us with the Fords, I'm a little bit off subject here, but they're tired of hot transmission temperatures. So, that's a product that everybody can use. Back to the Fleece stuff. They got so many options for, the average guy to the high horsepower guy. So when we lay out, we looked at the market for the 6R140 transmission cooler, there's, the rancher guy, the hotshot guy, the enthusiast guy, the horsepower guy. That can apply to, any single buddy. And that's what Fleece is doing with, their products, from stock to 2,000 horsepower. They got every single product you can imagine, you know what I mean? So it's nice. It's nice for a shop to lay out the options for every single, guy that comes into the shop. So.
One of the things I love to check out is like videos, shop pictures, truck pictures. You guys do a really good job with that. For any of our listeners that are out there, where can they find you guys on Instagram? And if you're on Facebook, how do they find you on Facebook? Check out what you guys are doing. So
our business page is called Unique Performance LLC on Facebook, and then on Instagram it's actually Unique Performance _official. It's Unique _Performance _official, and they're more than welcome to check out basically everything we do, from the average repair all the way up to the build that we were just talking about, Project Quarter Mil or whatever. That's our social media platform, and we actually just hired a guy for specific sales, and we literally have probably 75 hats and sweatshirts and t-shirts rolling out today. So
nice.
He's answering the phone, so that's a good way to reach out to us. No problem.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you chatting with us, catching up, with you, and I definitely want to chat with you again down the road, and keep us updated on that build. I definitely am going to keep my eye out for pictures and everything with that build you were telling us about, and yeah, glad to hear you guys are doing well and staying busy out there and everything else.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time, Patrick. I appreciate it, brother.
Don't forget, Diesel fans, if there's any topics you want covered, any episodes, any personalities that are out there, products you want to know more about, make sure and send us a message on Instagram, Facebook, or you can email us at info@thedieselpodcast.com. Let us know what you're working on, what you'd like to know more about. We'll make sure and get the guest or the topic covered that you request. Till next time, keep the shiny side up. Side up. Side up.